this all the time, and my God, a lot of us know people up in the North Carolina mountains. You've got a house up there, and we've had friends and family there, and then of course what's getting ready to come to Florida. So just be thinking about those folks. So first up is Jerry Highsmith. I always forget what to call you, but you take care of our park volunteer days and getting trees planted. And take it away, Jerry.
Well, I'm nervous about talking in front of everybody when you're having to stand up, so I'm gonna sit down.
Okay.
Hi.
Let me first say that the title is Park Bazaar.
Bob,
She gets to call herself whatever she wants.
Well, Bob kept telling me that was my title, and I didn't feel like that was a good one for me.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Zara. What was it? Was that Charlie Madison's name?
I'm the kind of person that it changes every time I sign it. Like sometimes I say coordinator, sometimes I say chair. I just mix it up.
That's fair.
But Zara seemed a little bit high up there.
I was a czar.
You were?
Yeah, it can't be high, I was doing.
Whoa. Well, maybe that will be the next signature. In the last 2 years, we have had 4 events scheduled for the mulching of the main park here. Only 2 of them were held. Actually, we have 2.
Due to weather.
One was canceled due to the weather. One was canceled due to weather. We have another one scheduled in November, which I told them I was not sure if many people would attend because it's the weekend of the election, but of course a lot of people do early voting and maybe rather be shoveling mulch instead of dealing with it. Yeah.
You need to vote in person because those of us that are there for the 16-hour day get really lonely if no one shows
I
up.
love voting in person and seeing all our neighbors. It
Look
makes
at the
me
podcast,
happy
I'll
and
go.
great.
Are you going to be at NC State?
No, I'm over here. I'll be at the Bulls.
Okay. So Jerry, what's the park day?
Okay, I should get back on topic. Okay, so we have the most things. This Friday, the 11th, we have a planting the tree day. We planted about 20 trees last year. We're planting 12 trees this year. I got a grant through the state, through the city to plant up to 36, but they really couldn't find enough places for us to plant 36. So we are planting 12 street trees.
Do you need any other volunteers? How's that working?
We have a full house of volunteers, but it's always nice for people to walk up. So the day of the volunteer day on the 11th, if you want to still come, they will let you sign up when you're there, and it's fine. I mean, there's 12 trees. They'll probably do a couple of teams, and it will get done faster, and it makes it more fun the more people that are there.
And that's this Friday morning.
And we probably start over there.
Where do you meet?
Over here in the park, I think it's on this side. You'll have to sort of see where the trucks park. You'll see the big city trucks.
The Green Park?
It's usually right over here.
On West Park?
They've been putting a limit on how many people can volunteer, which Mike protested against a couple of years ago. We think it's because after the parade tragedy, they've wanted to have more of a ratio of city staff to volunteers. They kind of put a damper on just a certain, having too many. But they haven't exactly said that, but it's been odd.
I mean, what I've seen is they'll have a limit, we all max the limit, but then if you just show up, they'll accommodate.
They'll give you a shovel.
Yeah.
They'll give you a shovel.
And they may have some forms and stuff.
Right. So the good news is we've done a lot of tree planting. They said we've done more in the last 2 years than the last 5 years. Of course, that covered the pandemic years. They also said we've sort of filled up our neighborhood with trees. And the bad news was they told me we weren't going to get any trees next year, and I was really upset because, you know, we always need more trees. So I offered to do a volunteer kind of collection of some funds if we wanted to, and then kind of make it a memorial to people that we've lost in the neighborhood as a tree planting kind of idea. So I've got some pledges, and if anyone wants to do that, I can put that out on the internet to see if anyone else wants to participate in that. It wouldn't necessarily go to trees for our neighborhood, but it couldn't hurt. And they're really nice people. When you start doing things like that, they want to do back for you, so they might just find some places and some more trees for us next year. They also weren't sure if we would get 2 trucks full of mulch next year for the same reason. They said we've been given more gifts in the last 2 years than everyone else. And I said, well, you're supposed to have like a percentage of resources for each neighborhood. And just because the city has grown, you shouldn't take it away from Cameron Forest Park, which is the name we are. So anyways, they were really very cordial, and they said that we could speak again the idea of the trees and the invasive clearings. The invasive clearings are really important, of course. I know it's Bob's special event. It doesn't sound that much fun, but actually it turns out to be one of the nicer events. It's early in the year. It's really pleasant weather. They have a lot of staff from the city, and we have a lot of volunteers, because it's also the day of the volunteer day for these students across the city. So NC State students and Broughton students and other students come to that. So it's a very nice event in the early part of the year, and we've got a lot of things cleared out. That's pretty much on that, but I do want to say one
Okay,
other
so,
thing.
Claudia's,
I'm sorry, I have a question. Are there any plans to take out some of the dead trees that are in the park here?
We'll talk with them personally on Friday. They say yes, but sometimes it means we'll see. But I can ask them
If
again.
they're a couple that absolutely need to come down.
The other way would be to, they have a reporting thing you can do on the computer. I know. But on Friday, if you show up, the people there are from the forestry.
Okay.
But if you'll tell me which ones they are by texting me rather than emailing me, I'll give it to them in person. And they will, somewhat get more on it.
Thank you.
They did say they were behind because of that storm we had a couple weeks ago that caused some trouble.
They're much further behind than that. I identified a tree which they agreed was in a precarious position. Now I'm gonna have, they marked it with a nice orange paint, but it's still there.
Well, it took them almost a year to take the huge tree down
Takes
the corner
forever.
over here.
But if you don't get it on the list, you have to go.
So
And it sometimes takes 2 or 3 requests. You know that, you know that.
And
Jerry, when's the, not the tree planting this Friday, but the other volunteer
That's
opportunity?
Saturday before the election. Is that the 4th or the,
Okay.
yeah, the Saturday before the election, I'm sorry. I can resend that. And that would be in this area.
So I'm wondering how it works with, Claudia, you mentioned the tree on the corner, I guess that's on College and East Park. Is that- Right, so that was a huge tree, so first they had to take it down. Now there's a big stump there. It'll be a year or 2 years before they grind the stump, before anything else can be planted back. So I'm wondering about replacing the canopy of the old growth hardwoods. Are we able to replace those, or have we been able to replace those with the plantings that we've been doing, or have those been different types of trees?
The answer is, they're willing to do trees, any tree that we ask to put in. And this year, they graciously said we could do 36 trees. No one requested, maybe because I didn't ask it correctly, no one requested to replace some trees in the parks. I don't know if it's too late to ask since it's this Friday, because they go out and they do a survey.
Uh-huh.
But since I talked with them the first time when they thought we couldn't get anything next year, they changed it to being, to saying, let's meet after they have the Christmas party, the Christmas parade. So if I could get specifics as to where you want those trees located or where there's dead trees that have to be replaced, it would help me a lot. Maps are always nice, even a hand-drawn one. If I could get it before Friday, so I could kind of put it in their face, that's also helpful. Because the face-to-face on Fridays, or whatever days we're planting, and they have the people there from the forestry department on Friday. Whereas the other things that we do, it's not the same crew that does the planting.
Well, yeah, there are different crews, the arborists that cut the trees down. It's a whole
Oh.
different crew that comes by to grind the
Oh.
stumps too. And that's why, they're backed up on grinding their stumps by at
Well,
least a year.
If
That's just
If you
function
or
of what it
Bob or
is.
anyone in this area, anyone here or in the neighborhood could get me the general locations of where things have to be cut and replaced, I can certainly keep ringing the bell. It's pretty much like we've talked about, it's kind of ringing the bell over and over again and saying, this tree has to come down, this one needs a new one. And if you have a suggested tree that you want, they're really good about taking that suggestion. They'll just go out and look at the site and see if that particular tree is going to work on that side. The only times they haven't wanted to put a tree in a particular place, as you probably know, there were 2 oak trees that came down along Park, and then, you know, where I don't know where our neighbors.
Is that Park and Hillcrest you're thinking of?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't put them as close to the
Right.
corner as the previous ones had been because they were worried about traffic obstruction when the trees got bigger.
Mhm.
But other than that, they've been, you know, pretty willing to do whatever tree you ask for. And they're willing to chat with you about it too. They're really nice. So, but I didn't get that. Bob, do you think you could help me with that? Because I don't know that I have the expertise to sort of negotiate the request for trees
Don't
that
they normally give us some choice of 3 or 4 trees?
you do. But they also let you write it in. But I'll have to chat with someone that's a little bit more savvy with what we would want to request.
I mean, are those trees like willow oaks and white oaks and,
Yeah, they have.
You know, hardwoods.
They have some shade trees, yeah.
good.
So,
I know they won't plant pecan trees or sweet gum trees anymore.
No.
I haven't seen them.
Oh, they do? Why?
Could you elaborate on the funding of the?
Oh, elaborate on the funding. Before the hurricane hit Asheville, which our house wasn't hit, but we had the bridge out to our house. And our daughter and her husband had difficulties with their house with some stream underneath it, which is why I don't have more to say about asking for funding for trees. Because I thought, wow, we've had so much. And y'all have been asked to do things for that. But the thing about the funding for the trees would be if people would like to donate towards their fund, we can probably get more negotiation to get the trees that we want. Like for this year, they didn't want to do as many trees as I asked for, but then I found out there was a grant, or we could get, do some donations, then they were willing to do more back. So if we can put the word out there to do $1, $2, whatever it is, I already have some commitments for up to a couple $1,000s. So that helps. I was looking at the first or the second email from this neighborhood a long time ago, and Mary Ann and, oh gosh, who's the other person? I know the person really well. I hate to say it, but it's just his wife. I can't think of the person's name.
Lee?
Yes.
Oh,
I knew you know. Lee and Mary Ann had an email when you get to the first one in our series, and they had given a donation to the city that was like the first donation for tree plantings when they were doing a special interest in getting increased trees across the city, and it was under Meeker's kind of domain. And our neighborhood put together money of approximately $2,300. So I kind of thought if we could do something in that neighborhood of donations and offer to the city, and then of course ask back for them to continue to do more for our neighborhood. It seems unfair that they would shuffle some of our money to another neighborhood. Not in a bad way, but just that the city has to kind of purport, give up some funds for trees all through the neighborhood, and sometimes they, as you know, they try to kind of do more for sometimes new places. Like they wanted to move our fire station, sort of cut it a long time ago so they could put another fire station in the suburbs. But that's another story. But if anyone wants to do some donations, if you think it's an okay idea, I know there's so many things happening right now, the hurricane in Asheville that just happened, or in whole Western Carolina, now the big one's coming in into Florida. But I'll put something out on the internet on that, on our neighborhood serve. The other thing is, just real quickly, these pictures, our daughter and her husband asked for people to give things so they could take it to Asheville, and they took 2 carloads of things, and I'll pass this around. And we are real appreciative, and the people there. Where they took the donations to is to a church called Black Mountain Presbyterian, and Black Mountain Presbyterian is trying to serve those very small little places up in the mountains where it's really hard to get to things. And so they took the gracious many things that y'all gave to them and put in our neighborhood and Bonnie Elam's house. And actually she donated a huge amount. I know she's here.
No.
Well, she donated a huge amount. I guess you probably know she was, she did a lot of volunteering in Haiti and other places. I did not know that. But she got them a list of things and they made these buckets, which includes procedures for doing water purification, which they said was going to be really helpful because where they were taking the supplies was really hard to get water up the mountains because of the weight of water. So this way they could do some purification. Anyways, and then things that she knew that they would need. And so they gave them to the church, and they're taking those things out, and they're very appreciative for our neighborhood's graciousness. Katie said they filled up the 2 vehicles with so many things within 24 hours of putting the word out on our neighborhood listserv. So I just want to pass that around.
That's right.
And I'm not necessarily the very best person to speak. I get real nervous. So if anybody else has any questions.
So you're wrapping up.
I'm done.
You're done. Well, thank
I'm
you,
done.
Jerry. I mean, you. Yay.
I have a question, actually. The number of trees that get apportioned every year, does that in any way take into account the number of trees that we lose?
Well, it sounds like it's one of those things where it depends. 2 years ago, they were thrilled that we asked about getting back on the list of trees, and they pretty much said we could get as many as we wanted. Then this year, they said we wouldn't get as many trees. They had other neighborhoods that needed trees. Then I applied for this grant, and then they said we could get 36, but they said we only had room for 12. It sounds like it goes between need and budgeting among all the neighborhoods that need trees and not having an increased budget. So the answer is tin cup kind of thing, and if we do some donations, they will probably do more for our neighborhood. But that's kind of like an overview of budget money. It's
I can answer a little bit more of that question. The city, along with the county, has done a canopy study of all the.
I can't hear you, Bob. I don't have my.
They've done a canopy study for the whole county, and the city, each town has their own canopy study, and Raleigh has identified where they think we need trees, which is mostly southeast Raleigh, which doesn't mean that they won't plant them, but the emphasis will be down there. So for the past, I guess, two years, and this will be the 3rd year, they're planting lots of trees in southeast Raleigh to reestablish canopy there.
Thanks.
All right.
It certainly wouldn't hurt to get a focus on wanting to have more trees, whether we do it through donations and present it to the city council and make it a want as well as a need, so that they feel something positive about them supporting it, and maybe that will help the budget move in that direction to increase the amount of funding for the canopy.
Good topic for future.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Good question, thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. That's fabulous what you've been doing. Next, Bob's going to talk about, Bob's the chair of our development committee, and Bob knows everything about our neighborhood conservation overlay district. And before, in the build-up to this meeting, a neighbor asked me about the overlay district and what she was concerned that the city's not necessarily enforcing our rules 100%. And so I don't know if you want to address how we deal with that.
You know, we've been dealing with this neighborhood conservation overlay district now for almost 20 years. Just for context, back in the late 70s, early 80s, the city did a study of historic neighborhoods, and Cameron Park was one of 6 or 7 National Register historic districts in the Claudia. So we're currently designated a historic district, a National Register historic district, which gives us all sorts of benefits. Mainly, you get tax credits for if you do construction that's been approved by the state that meets the standards. You can get, what is it, 20%?
There are federal tax credits and state tax credits.
Okay.
And So the federal tax credits are for income-producing properties, including rental, residential
Sure.
rental. And then the state credits cover owner-occupied residences.
Right. So you can get a lot of money back in the tax credit for doing the right thing, restoring your old house. Then, in 2005, we did a neighborhood plan. Took us about a year and a half to do it. And that sort of established what we thought was important about the neighborhood. And soon after that, like 2008, the city started these, what they call neighborhood conservation overlay districts, zoning overlay districts. Cameron Park was one of them. And so we currently have standards that the city uses to judge if someone's rehabbing a house or building a new house. It's not as detailed as a historic district, but it's pretty decent. And so, Mike, you asked me to just go over what the current, we revised these standards, which is a year-long process, 3 times. Hopefully, we're finished revising it for the time being. This is my lifetime. So, I'll just read. One of the first things we do is we look at the maximum lot size. So, I'll read it from the ordinance. No new lot, when created by a recombination, shall be greater than 10,000 square feet. So, the average lot in Cameron Park is about 9,000 square feet. Most people's lots are 60 by 150. Pretty close to what your lot is?
0.19 acres, I don't know. Ours is a little smaller, I think.
Okay. Anyway, so, given that, the average lot is that size, 10,000 feet allows for a bigger lot, a bigger house. The minimum lot size and then since we have a townhouse type over on Woodburn, we allow for, the city will allow for more townhouses to be built. The minimum lot size is 4,000 square feet for a townhouse lot. And no new lot shall be smaller than 6,000 square feet for a regular single-family house. So, I'm trying to think, up on Hillcrest, the first house coming in on the left, which was subdivided off a couple of years ago, that's right down around 6,000 square feet for that lot.
Warrior property.
Yeah, the Warrior property, that's it. Okay, front yard. Where you determine your front yard, it's based on what your block face has. So you take an average of the block faces on the front yard setbacks on your block face, and you use 20% of the average street yard setback to determine what your setback would be. It will be no less than 20 feet setback from the front yard. The side yard setback is done in a similar way. You look at the average side yard setbacks of your block, and no less than 5 feet for that, for side yard setbacks. Accessory structures, and that's garages, apartments, any kind of accessory structure can be set back no closer than 3 feet to the side or the rear lot line, and no more than 600 square feet for the first floor, and then up to 1,200 square feet for the whole thing. So we do allow 2-story apartments or garages, but they are limited. The size is specifically to prevent huge things going in the backyard. More in character than what we have now.
So Bob, the document you're reading from, can we send a link to the neighborhood?
We can do that.
Yeah, okay. So that we can have the details.
Right.
But the question that was asked was about enforcement, and this neighbor was concerned that some of these rules are not being enforced, and I'm not sure if that's 100% true or not. I know there've been some misinterpretations on the part of city staff.
The city's not perfect.
Yeah, right. None of us are.
In the past, we know they've made some mistakes.
Yeah.
The way they when they change staff, they change the way they interpret things. So it's important that we sort of look out after things, but we can't catch it all.
Right.
In just a few words, or maybe you're getting to this, but can you are you going to comment on lot coverage? The percentage, the footprint on the lot?
But that is not covered in our,
It is.
no,
So if it's not covered in ours, then it reverts to what the city code is, right?
right.
And the city code is, what is it, 50%?
I think it's 45. But we actually tried to get it in this last edition,
Yeah.
and
When I got permits, it was 40%,
40%.
40%. And I've questioned this a number of times in the past where some of these new houses going in look like they're at 90%.
Right. Yeah.
And how customers.
Bob, you have a question right next door.
I'm Marjorie Salzman, I'm the one who posed the question.
Oh, okay.
You knew that, I'm the one who
Yeah,
contacted
okay.
you about it. So, because I feel it's, as I shared with you in the letter, that the quality and characteristic of our neighborhood is unique. It was identified as a national historic neighborhood, and we have the neighborhood conservation, and we're seeing it lost. And how do we become the advocates? How can we as a neighborhood be an advocate for the enforcement to protect those things that brought everyone to come, well, many people to come live in the neighborhood, or what gives the neighborhood the lure that it has. So I guess that's my quote, my position, proposal to the group is what can we do?
And we were talking, just like last year, we did the tree tour, the tree walk. We need to have a history walk. Talk about, what makes our neighborhood special, what character of our neighborhood. Plenty of people fly in, admire it, and many others that can lead a little walk. And during that walk, we can start talking about what our neighborhood conservation does and what it doesn't do. So, I'll check on what the current percent is of lot coverage. I think the way to do it is you can go to a certain amount, and then if you're over that, you have to provide stormwater retention in the ground, stormwater retention.
Yeah, the house that I call it the concrete butterfly, sorry for saying it that way, but the house on Hillcrest that has, it's a cool house. But they took up a big footprint and they had to put in a cistern underground and some other things.
But they're the only one that's had that kind of footprint that has installed a system.
That's right, remember that?
Oh, really?
I guess house beside you, Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I have a lot of water in my basement right now. Well,
Wow.
not now,
Oh,
but
gosh.
but so do we. Yeah, it's coming from my back every now and then, Emily and Dan too. They have plans, of course, to put gutters and then put the gutter runoff underground. And they put a retaining wall in the middle part of the property, but that's also so that they can raise the level of the ground, because that's where they plan to put a trampoline. It's going to be an issue when they start finishing back by the ADU, the garage, because number one, I think they have less than 3 feet to my property, and I didn't realize that. I should have looked it up. But also, the dirt is just so much higher, and they've already put the water spillway around the garage, and that's coming across the corner of the lot for the easement. And it's, if they don't do a retention wall there, it'll be a serious problem. I don't know what they're gonna do. I'm gonna ask them about cisterns.
How are they able to get
That's
an
what.
ADU built without 3-foot setbacks?
Well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just.
No, I walk the alleyways all the time with dogs, and there's all the,
That's
I
why
don't
I'm
know if
saying
there's
we
a
need
single
to do
ADU that
something.
complies with the 3-foot setback that's been
Yeah.
built in the past 10 years.
And I think that's where we figure out how to be vigilant, and I'm glad to be part of a group to discuss what we can do in terms of, looking at where we can begin to get into the system in which these decisions are being made, from the from the current property owners knowing what the rules are, to the prospective property owners, and more than, I guess, without the realtors knowing what the rules are,
and that information is shared with the proposed, with, future homeowners, and that the new homeowner, property owner, is aware that these things, and then that we have some way of monitoring when permits are being given, so that those people on the staff are aware. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's
What happens
simplistic.
when a violation's done? What's the penalty?
Nothing.
Nothing, after it's done,
House was built down the street from Jerry with a front load carport, and that's illegal.
Yeah.
City let it go. And I said, oh, well, cat's out, the toothpaste is out of the tube, can't get it back in, we'll have to let it slide.
You don't find out until it's done.
that's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to do
I know
it.
the name, the new head of the Development Services section is Keegan McDonald. And we can call him and ask him these questions. But I think your point, it is a good idea to maybe, with the permission of the group, bring it back to the development committee to assign some different directions to go in.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because there's a lot of detail here, and I think what you're talking about is a very good question, and how do we deal with it? But that would be something for a more focused discussion with the core group.
Right.
I do want to say that the new neighbors next to me are wonderful people. They will be a great addition to the neighborhood. And every time I've complained about the water, they have done something to try to remedy the situation. You'll see that they have 2 silt fences, which is very unusual. Usually there's only 1. And I will say, for those of you who are looking down the street, there's a ton of mud coming out the sidewalk in the street. Because they're losing that retention.
Did they put a silt wall up? They're supposed to have a silt wall
They
up.
have a silt wall up, and then they have river rock. Between the silt wall that's next to them.
Just too much water flow.
No, they've left a place to walk up. So that's opened up the silt, and so it's coming either under the river rock, or it's coming where they've opened up.
Yeah, it just goes in the
That's right.
storm drain.
But that's why I think it's nothing about,
Extra
you have to take this, you take out the personality of it all.
Yeah.
It needs to be, the realtors need to be aware of it, and so that people who are purchasing properties, just like when someone moves into a neighborhood where they have homeowners rules and regulations, I'm sure, for the most part, they learn about that before they go and buy it, so that they're aware that you move into this neighborhood, it has this, and these are the requirements. So
I'm sure
I
the
think you need to
homeowner,
think.
this homeowner doesn't know that. I fault his builder.
Yeah, it's
Exactly,
usually
that's
the
what I'm
builder.
saying, it's not a personality. It's
So I had a question, which is, so once it's built, but what if it's in the process of being built, and the small building in the back is too close to the road, or too close to the alley, is not within the right number of feet? It's not. I mean, isn't there a mechanism to point it out before the thing is completed?
It's too
They
late.
can make them tear it out.
That would be okay
Well,
with
they
me.
can.
Or just reduce the size of it.
After it's built.
Or they could take down one of the walls and make modifications now.
Well, we've got a big agenda, guys, tonight, so we're gonna have to kind of.
So what is the answer to that
I
question?
would like to suggest that what Bob said about getting a group together, having someone be willing to chair gathering these comments and questions, and then put together maybe a set of guidelines that we present to the city planning committee and review with them. Would that help?
Sure. And we can do that as an ad hoc committee, or as through the development committee. Maybe
Well, you're the chair of the development committee right now.
Why not, I'll send an email out with saying where you can find the information on our current neighborhood conservation. And with that, I'll send my address so people can get back with me and let me know if they're interested in serving on this committee.
Yeah.
And then you can say how many people you would like to have volunteer for said committee, so that you don't end up with 45 people. So, I think that's
I
excellent.
want
Then we can
Marjorie
do-
on the committee. I want Marjorie on the
Yep.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that's perfect. May I ask a question? I'm Becky Bell. A lot of y'all don't know who I am.
And, our vice president.
I would like to just ask us to quickly go around the room and say our names, because I don't know everybody.
How about where we live too?
Okay.
Can I say something first?
As long as you're quick.
It
Be
is quick,
quick.
it's trees and construction. For those of you who don't read everything on the listserv, I posted an email on the listserv tonight about that huge tree on the western end of the new construction by the library. It goes the whole,
Where the new apartments are
yeah,
being
the
built.
apartments. They violate, the construction people violate that preservation around that tree root system all the time. I call the city, the name of the person to call is in my email. He responds every time I call him. They send somebody out there and get
that's-
this
I
construction
think that would be.
off.
They run over the
before we-
roots, it's too
Even
late.
before the process, I mean, it could take a while to get it going, but to have the contact information, maybe you could put in,
Yes.
think, if people see a violation,
Right.
they could, on their own, give a call, because not everybody walks the neighborhood all the time or sees what's going on. But if you see, a 4-story or something big, go up next door to you, call.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on unless there's any other critical things on the development committee
Will
report.
you go around the room?
Okay, okay, we kind of, what was that?
Her AI is going crazy.
Siri doesn't understand what's happening with you. Siri is now in silence.
Well, let me just make a suggestion for the next time, so we're so behind, is that we start using name tags.
Oh, good idea.
And I volunteered to be the name tag
I
czar.
second that.
Because I have facial recognition issues personally, and it helps me a lot to have an actual name big on a person.
You know what, this is great, I still have all the name tag things that BA has been taking care of for years.
Sitting
So-
in
so
our
this is
house.
doable. Okay, okay.
Those are clip-on, I'm just talking about the stick-on.
Okay, okay.
That's too hard.
A real quick, and you can put in your notes that Judy's gonna co-chair the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
committee on the
Okay.
parks for donations, because she's really good at that.
Okay, okay, so let's quickly introduce ourselves, that's what you would like to do right now, right? So,
Becky Bell, I live on Groveland Avenue, I'm the vice president.
okay.
Jerry Highsmith, I'm the czar or the chair of the volunteer park committee.
Okay.
Oh, we have parks, sorry.
Claudia Brown, I live on Calvert Road.
Gordon Brown, associated with Claudia Brown on Calvary.
T.A. Farrell, the house at the end of the park with all of the commotion.
Construction project.
Joel Luderman, I live at 225 Hawthorne.
Dan Parham, Calvin Red.
Mike Lindsey, Park Drive,
Nancy Johnson, wife of Park Drive.
and behind,
Lucy Keenan, 213 Woodburn.
Roy Huntley on Ambleside Drive.
Marty Lamb, Calvin Road.
Laura Hale, Birmingham.
Lauren Pritchett, 911 West Peace Street.
Jamie McLean, 204 East Park.
Kim Mandy, next door.
I'm on
Behind you.
behind
Rob
you.
May, I'm
Behind
over
you.
on Peach Street, across from the high school.
Okay.
Bob Mosier, 307 West Peach Drive.
Marjorie Salzman on Forest Road.
Doug Johnston, Forest Road.
Emily Rissman, I live next to Judy, I'm on Hawthorne.
And Emily is in charge of all of our money.
Yes. Judy Kroll, I live next to Emily.
And behind you.
I know what I am.
Victoria She West Johnson.
Say again?
Victoria She.
Thank you, Victoria.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, next we have a committee report on the neighborhood name change implementation effort. And I think with what's recently happened, this committee should be able to disband, I think, at this point. But Roy Huntley's the chair of it, and Dan, to my right, has done a lot of the heavy lifting on a lot of things. So Roy, do you want to, or do you want to, I don't know how y'all want to.
I can give a quick update.
Does that work? Since you've been taking notes, so.
Yeah, so over the past 2 years, we coordinated with various agencies and mapping companies to update the name. It was kind of interesting, like how do you actually do it? City of Raleigh, Wake County, the United States National Park System have all made the change or update. And then we did policy reviews with companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Mapbox, and Esri. So these are all the like digital maps that exist in the world. So you have to like go in front of their legal team and explain the process, and they either approve it or not, and 100% of them approved it. And so now you see on websites like Zillow, Redfin, MLS, Realtor, like all of those websites are being updated. So yeah, that's really, just to keep it short on like what was this specific committee tasked with, was just implementing the change. So those are all the places that the executive committee asked us to change it originally. There are places, for example, on all of our deeds where we still have the name Cameron Park, but we had intentionally from the beginning decided that we would not go down that road because there are many issues with our deeds, not only the name themselves, the name itself. So I think for the most part, and I don't want to say like I did it all, there were many people that helped out in the process. Nick Maslow, who doesn't live in the neighborhood anymore, did a lot of work as well, so appreciated his support. But to Mike's point, it's pretty much done. I think we're pretty much there. Anytime if you see it in any place, you can certainly contact us. You can contact them with there's like a little one-pager that we wrote for those government agencies.
And Dan has done an executive summary of all this. I mean, it's hard to believe. In January, it will have been 4 years ago that the Cameron Village Shopping Center changed its name to the Village District, which led to our neighborhood having a conversation about changing, whether to have a name. So we've got all that documented. He's got an executive summary that covers all of this, and we'll send that out with an email with the minutes, and you can put a link in for that. Let's see.
Hey Mike, that reminds me, don't we need to review the minutes and approve minutes from the previous meeting?
Oops. God, when was the, oh, wait, we just had a.
Y'all had a meeting there was a meeting a couple weeks ago with nominations?
Yes.
Online.
The online.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Well, I'll have to send that out. I'm trying to think of where that is right now. Did we, no, wait, I did send out minutes. Yeah, I sent out minutes.
Because Myrick had said, so aren't we supposed to vote and approve them during the meeting then?
Yes.
If people have any recall, I mean, of what I sent out after that meeting, we can do it.
What you sent out was fine.
Yeah.
I have a procedural question.
Just a second.
Um, Rob?
A procedural question. If somebody asks for something to be read into the minutes, a statement, shouldn't the actual statement be in those minutes?
I would assume so.
Okay. Well, at the last Zoom meeting, I asked for I read something into the minutes, and the minutes came back and just said Rob May made a statement, not the actual statement.
Okay.
And so then I sent an email to you requesting that the minutes be changed to reflect the actual statement, and nothing's been done.
Oh, okay, I didn't remember that. I will say to that end, we sent out a video, a link to the meeting recording that had everything in it to include what you're talking about.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
May I request that if you include that what statement was made, you also included your statement that was made afterwards?
Okay, but.
You don't remember it?
No.
Am I the only person who remembers what
It's on the
happened?
video.
It should be on the video, right?
Yeah. So bottom line is, we have a record, we have the video, we have the minutes. I don't know if we need to, I mean, is that do we have to, I mean, I.
It's just something I've always remembered in the 20
Yeah,
years
if
coming to
the
meetings,
minutes
the
are not
first thing
correct.
we do was approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
You're
Yeah.
And if the minutes are not correct regarding what I just said, shouldn't they be corrected before they're approved?
Yeah, well, we're not, I don't think we're voting right
We
now,
haven't
so I don't know
voted
that
on
anybody
it.
has a conscious memory of what all the minutes were.
Well, I can play the video right now if you'd like.
No, we don't have time to do
So
that.
y'all can vote and approve them, but I'm just saying if you do that, you are approving minutes that did not include my actual statement.
All right.
I move that we have the minutes resent on the listserv and we approve them at the next meeting.
I'll second.
Does that work?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I will, before our new president, I will send that out as one of my remaining duties as president. So I'll follow up on that and correct that. And I don't know if we need to go into all the weeds on all of this, but there's just a long history and a whole bunch of stuff that's happened. And for those of you that, if y'all saw an email today that came from Myra Coward that was saying certain things, he referenced the executive committee's lawyer. And I just want to point out, I don't know who knows what, but this past year we had, we initiated the name change committee with the city of Raleigh, what we thought was the last place the city could authority touch something about a public reference to our neighborhood, and that was our NCOD. We decided to save some money from doing the process we had to do before, where we had to pay for a mailing, and Bob and Joanne worked on that quite a bit. And we were able, there's another way of doing it, which is called an internal text change, and we had our city councilor introduce that. That's Jane Harrison. The council unanimously approved to push forward the text change. It then goes to the planning commission, and according to the city's rules, they're supposed to send to the planning commission a summary and a recommendation. They did not do that, and they did not. And it's a long story. There's a lot of detail that you can see on the executive summary. But so the planning commission voted to turn down our text change. And then I found out afterwards from talking to some of them that they didn't understand what was going on. They were blindsided because they didn't get the report from the city. So that pushed forward to a hearing that happened a month ago, where the city council voted 7-1 to make our text change. So that's why we think that's the last thing we need to do, and that's all been completed as of now. Any other questions about any of this?
I don't need the minutes from that meeting if we wanted just to get it done, or.
No, I need to amend it.
Okay.
Okay, so if that's done, Marty?
So I'm here to represent Forest Commons this evening because there's a lot coming up that I thought you might want to know about. You will be getting flyers about the Architecture and Landscape Design Neighborhood Insights and History Forum. It'll be taking place Thursday, October 24th at 7 p.m. It's at Pullen because they're doing a lot of construction. There's some attendant problems with that as far as parking at the Y. So you'll be receiving information about that. And there's a little mention too about the art wall coming up in November. So look forward to those opportunities. I also wanted to share that we have a list of volunteers who are willing at least to be contacted through the coordinator, and I'm occupying that role at this time. If you are a family caregiver for an adult and would like a couple of hours off, so then you can call the number for Forest Commons to request that. And we may or may not be able to provide, but it may be worth a try, so you can think about it. And the third thing is we have a North Carolina State social work student available in the community on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and I supervise her. And she offers technical assistance with computers and smartphones and things like that. And we've had these students available before, and they've been very helpful. So if you want to dare to look at that or have friends in the neighborhood, again, give the number. So the number is, drum roll, 919-346-4992. Our student also listens to stories about people's lives. So if you have ever wanted to give a message to the younger generation about how they should live their lives, but they never asked, she'll ask.
Other than your child, someone shared that with us.
Surrogate child care.
If your child isn't listening.
So you can just give that number a call if you want to explore any of those possibilities. Thank you.
Okay, and just to follow up on the forum, everybody's going to we'll be getting flyers maybe starting Friday through the weekend, door to door, and we'll send, tomorrow, I'll send out an email, but 2 weeks from Thursday, we will have the forum at that chapel, and just going to that chapel is a really cool experience. It's a neat piece of architecture, and it's very nice and interesting inside. And we're gonna have 3 neighbors on the forum as panelists, A.B. Harris, oh gosh, brain drain here, I should have had my notes. Sorry? Roger Clark and Dick Wilkins. So architects and landscape architect, and they're gonna share some of their work visually and talk about it. And then they're gonna talk about our neighborhood and their insights about what makes our neighborhood such an interesting place and a great place to live, and how we can perpetuate that, which of course ties in with our conversation about the overlay district. So I hope people will show up. It should be a very interesting meeting.
Do you repeat the date?
October 24th at 7 p.m. at Pullman Memorial.
That's Thursday.
Yeah. So it should be very good.
Mike, I hate to interrupt when you're gonna go to a new topic, but I will tell you that Judy's basement is a swimming pool. Because it covered the entire permeable surface of the lot next door. And so I think that needs to be a really high priority. I mean, we've got this huge flooding in the western part of the state. And she's got a swimming pool.
Well, it's a swimming
So
pool.
then we must have
They should pay for the,
Well, we have to do more to have
I know.
guidelines for rain,
Really?
water,
So we have
stormwater.
some history on this with the, with an incident like this happened once before, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
On,
But a lot of that happens during construction, which isn't good, you know, but hopefully.
This is because the complete surface has got roofs now.
Yeah.
There are roofs.
It's all running
There's
off.
no,
Oh,
there's no way that it can be, unless they put some cisterns in, but there's no place to put a cistern in, because it literally is that much.
It's the whole lot.
There's just too much roof, but
my
maybe when they
gosh.
get gutters, but I mean, her house really has a swimming pool. It's really,
Unfortunately, I have a drain on the floor. on one
but
side.
that's really hard, but that's really hard, I mean, it's really
Shouldn't
hard.
they
Because
pay
firm
for
is
the
all eventually goes
getting
to
the
drain.
water
Spend
in?
how much
It's
time taking care of it, which is
Well,
not gonna get us some.
Judy won't say anything.
Well, and plus, we've had a crazy wet summer after
Yeah,
this
but
project
that are
first.
really-
But that house
Yeah.
takes up the whole
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah.
So we need to have at least some strategies for mitigation of water.
And real fast.
During construction. There was a situation similar to this a few years ago, and I won't go into where it was and
Right.
who was involved, but the city, the driveway was put in and sloped, so all the water ran into neighbors' yards. And the city said, you know, the neighbors went and said, didn't he need a stormwater permit? Didn't you look at this? And the city said, it's a civic issue, you know, you can sue him,
Oh,
basically.
Wow. Well,
It's a civil issue.
wow.
well, they can come up with some strategies in the future for requiring mitigation. We had a lot on Pine Knoll Shores, we do have a lot on Pine Knoll Shores, and we were going to build, but it got so expensive, you know. But they have requirements to come to your property, a whole crew of people from Pine Knoll Shores, and you have all this mitigation that's required. How do we get that to happen, Bob? You don't know the answer, but I think we need to have some strategies for mitigation before you get your permit. You don't get your permit.
Absolutely.
We'll work on it.
I don't know. I know, it's a whole thing, but I'm really worried about Judy's basement, because it is
okay, Jerry.
crazy. I'm gonna go
It's
down.
okay, Jerry.
I can't quiet down very well. I'm not very good at that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, as y'all know, we had a vacancy after Nick moved out of the neighborhood for our second vice president. And then I'm stepping down after having served for 2 years. And so obviously we had this meeting last month for our 2 nominees. And for president, we have wonderful Joel here, who's Nancy's favorite new person. Yeah, and Lauren over here as second VP. I'd like for each of them to introduce themselves and say a little bit about like when you moved in the neighborhood, you know, and what you do or whatever you're comfortable with, you know. So Joel or Lauren.
Sure.
President.
So, good evening, everyone.
Good
It's
evening.
great to see everyone, some new faces, old faces. I'm Joel Luderman. I am a resident for almost 3 years. January will be 3 years. I think we're slowly we're transitioning from being known as the people that moved into the Cunningham's house to the people that have had a dumpster in front of their house for seemingly forever. But our reno is getting there, so about another month or so. I am, during the day, I am the medical director at Wake County Public Health, and that's a position I've had for about a year. That's been a fantastic gig. My wife, Leona Miller, who couldn't be here tonight, is owner and main physician at Avance Primary Care. Some of you, I think, know her, either just know her and know her as a physician there. So we're definitely sort of part of the neighborhood, and it's been great. We rented for a year in Hayes Barton, and we're always told, oh, don't even bother looking there. Nothing ever goes on the market, and when it does, it all happens so fast that like you can't even buy a house. So when our house came on the market, we grabbed it because we thought this is just great, and it's been a great move. I'm really excited to be president. That was not something that was on my horizon or on my radar. Thank you, Judy, for, who initially sort of seduced me in by dangling the second vice president, and within a few hours I was already in touch with Mike, and he convinced me to be to run for president. So nice move. But I'm really excited. I think it'll be a good 2 years. I'm looking forward to learning about the different committees, meeting more of you, planning the Christmas party, or helping to plan the Christmas party. So yeah, just excited to serve. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Pritchett, and I've lived in the neighborhood since 2011, where I rented on Calvin, and moved to Peace Street in 2013 because we love the neighborhood. We were just looking on whatever the real estate website was back then, and got the cheapest house in the neighborhood, and said, okay, we're gonna get this, and we're gonna make it our forever home in a few years. So we did end up renovating in 2020, and now it has everything that we need. You will probably, many of you have seen my family walking around the neighborhood. Gordon, always see you with your dogs, and my dog Quailford has been with us since we moved in 2011, and he's still with us. So my family is my husband Ben, my dog Quailford, and I have a 9-year-old daughter who's in 4th grade at Wiley, and a kindergarten son at Wiley as well. I work at Red Hat. My husband works at IBM. And both my husband and I have lived in the area since we were little ones. We were on the same T-ball team. We went to Apex.
You and your husband were on the same T-ball team?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've known each other since we were 5. You never know, I mean, who you're going to meet in T-ball. So, but yeah, I went to Apex Elementary, middle, high school. I went to NC State. So just really familiar with the area, love calling it our home, and I really love living in Forest Park. I think what I'm most looking forward to serving is really just continuing to making it a family-friendly environment. I love the Sunday morning hangouts, the Halloween party, the holiday party, and I just love walking around the neighborhood. Whenever I think about my favorite thing to do with my family, it's walking around our neighborhood. So I want to keep that going. And then also safety and has been a big focus for my family. living on P Street, we have a lot of hooligans walking by. Sometimes they just keep on going, and that's great. They're having fun, but we need to, help make sure that people are being safe and treating our property and our neighbors with respect. So.
I agree.
Yes.
Because they often come down Park Drive.
Yes.
We've had some vandalism.
Yeah, and the parking really helped on Johnson and Park Drive where I am. That the new parking permit has really helped. But just want to, I know there could be a committee on that, so really supportive of that.
And we'll get to that idea at the end of the meeting here. So,
Okay.
so thank both of you.
We had a vote.
Yeah.
So let's just do a slate of candidates, both at the same time, or do we have to do it separate, or does anybody care?
Same time.
Same time.
Okay, who's in favor of our new president and second vice president?
Aye.
I think that's unanimous. Okay.
Yay!
And Nancy, I'm gonna keep saying really appreciate it.
Hey, Joel, the custom is that the outgoing president takes you out for drinks after the meeting.
Of course.
We'll go over your
But he's missing his other half who needs a drink. Preparatory drink.
Actually, I think we take the other half over for a drink.
Yeah.
There
She's
you
had
go.
to live with him.
I've been drinking heavily for 2 years.
And I will point out, I don't know how it's always worked in the past, but what's kind of nice right now is two new people are coming into the executive committee. We have 3 staying, so there's a nice continuity, I think, by doing that. And as I've assured Joel, I'm staying on, I'm not going anywhere. I will be very involved to make sure things are happening, and that leads to the next agenda item, which is holiday party planning. And we need to get a committee together for the holiday party. And Joel, actually, maybe you could take over as our president, but I'm just going to continue for right now since it's all in my head. Go for it. I talked with, well, first of all, as y'all know, our holiday party, which is always a very well-attended and very enjoyable event for the neighborhood, we used to do it in somebody's house. So I just have to put that out there. If anybody wants to volunteer their house.
Ted Van Dyke.
You mean the Brown House? He offered it last year. But again, I'll just put a word of warning. There's a lot of logistics that go into making a holiday party when it's not at a place like Cantina 18. And there are many people in the room who know all that and how complicated it can be.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, we need to form a holiday party committee. I'm happy to be on it. If I need to be the chair of it, I would, but what I don't want to do, which I've done the last 2 years, and I've been doing it for a long time, is soliciting sponsors to be on it. But I'll work with, however we work it out, we'll get it done. But here's the thing, if we have it at Cantina 18 and we need to form a committee, it can't just be one person. So in the email that goes out, I'll be asking for people to be on the holiday party committee. But
What's the date, Mike?
okay, so if somebody doesn't volunteer their home, the manager of Cantina 18 has currently reserved Sunday afternoon, December 15th. And so that seems like a really sweet spot out of the month. It's not too close to Christmas. The 22nd was available, but I think that might be too close.
Yeah.
The other date, but we'd have to let them know real soon because they would like to rent the space out to somebody, is Sunday the 8th, but is the 8th too soon?
It seems a little bit.
Yeah, you know, because I think you kind of want to get between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that seems like a good spot on the 15th, and it's
And
available.
Hanukkah and New Year's.
And in talking with him, I think last year the feedback I got was everybody enjoyed the food much better than they did the previous year. And our drink package, everything seemed to work out, and I don't think there was anything lacking.
It wasn't skimpy like planks.
So if somebody want to sit down with a big plate of food and just chow down for a minute, and before getting back to socializing, they could last year. So I'm suggesting when we get our committee together, and they have all the notes on all this. So this year's committee should be really easy to do if that's what we want to do a repeat of last year.
are you gonna send out an email just about the holiday party separate from the notes on this meeting?
What do you think? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I think if you don't, it gets lost in all the
Yeah,
noise.
yeah, we do overwhelm, don't we?
And it may need to go out first, since you're
Okay.
looking at December 15th.
Yeah, okay.
Just a point, Hanukkah is the day after Christmas. It's really late.
Hmm.
So I think this time.
So the later time is
good.
better than the 8th, I'd say.
I have a question. I haven't been to the holiday party since it was at somebody's house. One of the reasons, and so if y'all can report on this, one of the reasons why we haven't been is because of the kids, and I know that it is kid friendly, like kids are welcome. I just couldn't picture my kids being able to hang out at a restaurant with all the adults. So I was just wondering, like, how has it been with the kids? I was thinking, like, could we have a kid party?
Someone would need to volunteer.
Well, yes, I would volunteer for it, but I don't want to, if it's already like, oh, Lauren, like, you need to bring the kids, it's fine. But, okay.
It's not a great spot for
Okay,
little kids.
I just wanted to make sure.
And it really didn't work with kids at people's houses either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
No, they had to have a
all the adults
separate-
would be standing,
Yeah.
and children
The
were.
kids in the attic or the basement or next.
Right,
door.
I had a little baby back then strapped to my chest.
I mean,
so.
we don't have any kids, so I didn't, I mean, but I thought we did a pretty good job of accommodating the kids a lot of times. I remember.
Oh, in the distant, but
Yeah.
not at Cantina, that's the question.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was at the cantina 2 years ago, I guess in 22. And there seemed to be quite a bit of space. I mean, I didn't bring my own kids, but there seemed to be, I think as Mike's suggesting, there's room. I think kids would be okay.
Maybe, and I would
I mean,
volunteer
not
to do
little
bring
kids, I think.
activities or some.
Yeah, it's not.
Maybe like a table,
Yeah.
because it's upstairs, it's,
Yeah.
away from like the main restaurant.
Yeah.
And like, then there's places where people, like Mike said, could bring their food and sit down and eat, but maybe setting aside one of those tables as
Yeah.
designated.
You know what, there's a room outside that's
Yeah.
public space.
We're not allowed to use that.
Oh, we're not? Darn.
We did, one of the first times we used, or we're at Cantina 18, and I think the management of the village district said we can't be doing that, because we did use it one year. We spilled out into it, so, but.
I think that's a great idea for somebody to come up with coloring games.
Yeah, and even like some of the younger babysitters who might want to help manage.
Okay, so
that might be-
when we form our committee, and I think.
I will join.
Okay, so, and I
That'll be my
think,
first order of business.
and what I would recommend is that we probably get in touch with the manager at Cantina and maybe have a meeting there and talk about this and about what we might be able to do to create a space somewhere and what they thought.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
So, okay, that sounds great. Okay, and then, now, when you were talking about public safety issues in the neighborhood, another person who was interested in being on the executive committee, Laura Olson, decided that she would really like to be in charge of a committee that focused on neighborhood public safety issues, and she's on East Park Drive, and they're just getting hammered by the folks cutting through and going to Partyville and then coming back, and it's pretty bad, and it's just gonna get worse with this new student housing building going up. So Joel, as our new president, I will connect you to, and you may want to appoint her to be the committee chair of whatever that committee's name's supposed to be. Zarina, okay. But she's very interested, and we were talking this afternoon, and she has some very creative ideas about like creating a database that we maintain, aside from what, we always ask people to report to the police what's going on, even if it seems minor. You don't have to make it an emergency, because that way the police have a record. And I told her this afternoon, we were talking, I don't know if it was a year ago or when, it was before we got the parking fees going up to $200, that's probably helped.
Oh, yeah, tremendously, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's kind of scared away some people. In fact, I saw somebody tell somebody, when they got the $200 ticket, they said up to $200. I thought that was like just a range, and they were very upset about how much. Anyway.
I would like to suggest that it focus both on the east and west ends of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it would be for the whole neighborhood. And in fact, as y'all know, and we've talked about this before, back in ancient history, back when there were dinosaurs on the planet, the problem was more on the west end of, as you well know, the west end of the neighborhood. And in fact, at our forum back in January, that came into the discussion. Oh gosh, brain drain here.
There it is.
Thank you. Mary Lou led the charge on that and did a very good job.
Well, and we have a different problem now because it's not the rental properties that are causing the issue as much as the change in the traffic going up and down Woodburn, as Lucy knows, and on Park, on that end of Park, you know, because we get all the people that are passing through the neighborhood on that end. So that just needs to not be.
Well,
Are you talking about foot traffic or vehicle or both?
Both.
Okay.
well, the foot traffic, we have a security camera that's, you can't identify humans, but you can tell they're not individual humans, but
They're not
it's, no. And we hear, if our windows are open, I'm awake and hear them all the time. And it's between 2 o'clock and 2:20. That's when all the people, when the bars close and they're all drunk and yelling and walking down the street, and they used to be pulling up the roadsides near us, and Mike hammered them into the ground. The city will never get them out with whatever. But they would, I just hear these clatters, and so and it happened in that time period. That's it.
Yeah, they pass our house too.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, those single pane windows.
Yes.
So getting back with my conversation with Laura today, she had this idea about creating a database that we maintain that we would then submit to the police periodically, and to the city council. And I told her some neighbors from the Glenwood, Brooklyn neighborhood, and I met with Jonathan Melton maybe a year plus ago, or what. It was before the parking went up, and that was one of the, I don't know who generated that idea. I thought it might have come from the city, but the city's been very mindful of our problems because we have been talking to them.
And Jonathan is on the city council.
Yeah, Jonathan Melton, he's our at-large city council. And after that is when we got some traction with the city council. So just like everything, like our NCOD, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, just like the cherry and the trees. They pay attention because of our efforts of pushing things along. So.
Was it Nathan Hanna or somebody on Johnson Street that started the petition for the parking spot?
I forget who started.
Somebody.
The parking, Doug did that back in a couple of years, several years ago. Doug started the parking, and then it more recently spread down to West Johnson. But the $200 fine is something completely
Correct.
different.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Right. And I forget. I don't know if the city initiated that or what, but I think they.
Agent Kelton up at Capna and Agent Kelton up at.
Oh, yeah.
They were the one that got the city to up.
On Johnson Street.
Well, they got the additional spread of the parking issues, but I just don't know if one of us or somebody encouraged the city to raise the parking fine to $200.
That was after the fact.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the city council heard us, and that was the solution.
They heard the governor's wife.
There you go.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Okay.
Hopefully, well, they're not.
Since this is not on the listserv, so it can't spread, and no reporter's gonna know about it. She went out one day to tell somebody that where they were parking was a very expensive parking fine, and that would be $200, and the guy pushed her.
Pushed her?
Pushed who?
President.
I don't know that, but she did not want that broadcast, and now I'm blabbing it. But it really pissed me off. But I'm sorry, but I'll just point out that since then, I think that $200 fine has really made a difference. And I give the city council credit, unless somebody else can take credit for it. That's where I think it came from. So, and again, our neighbors are working on expanding. I think eventually our entire neighborhood's going to be permitted parking.
It's getting so bad. All those student housing
It puts so much
things
pressure
They don't have
You
enough.
guys have
I
a
know.
salvage yard going across the street from your house.
We have what?
An auto salvage lot going up on the street across from you.
On West Park?
There are about 4 abandoned cars there.
Well, that's another story, I won't say, but yeah, that's being worked on. Okay, so we've gone through the agenda, guys. I will send out an email about the meeting. I will update our minutes to include Rob's comments.
I'd like to make one more comment.
Sorry?
I'd like to make a comment for this week's minutes if I could.
Okay.
And this is vitally important to you, Joel, and you, Lauren, and neighbors are watching to see closely to wonder how you guys are gonna handle this. For the record, into the minutes, Cameron Park Neighborhood Association is still officially Cameron Park Neighborhood Association per the neighborhood bylaws. Cameron Park Neighborhood per the Wake County plat book that defines the neighborhood is still Cameron Park Neighborhood.
Do you want to give that in writing so we can add it to the minutes or something?
I just gave it, and I can send the video. It's the exact same thing I said last week, that I would like to be added to both
So they're the same
minutes,
statements?
and almost identical, and
Okay.
I can put something in writing for you.
Yeah.
And you will hear that at the end of every single neighborhood meeting minutes until the truth is out and the neighborhood is referred to by its official names, and the neighborhood association
Okay.
referred to by their official names.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comment. I will now make a comment in return. We are operating as a DBA, doing business as. Standard business practice, very common. Our Forest Commons group, which is also an incorporated group, is doing business as. In its bylaws, it still says Cameron Commons, but we reference it and everything is Forest Commons. And that's the way things are going.
So I won't even respond to Mike, because I've been battling him for years, but I want you to know, Joel, there are lawsuits waiting.
No, there are.
Depending on what happens tonight and where you guys take this.
You're a lot of empty air, very Trump-like, so thank you.
And I have some
Sorry.
documentation to leave with you before I leave tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned. Who wants to adjourn the meeting?
I did.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
All right.